What is the highest level of schooling that your parents have attained?
My parents, as far as I know, the highest level of schooling they obtained was high school, and I think that's only my mom.
How big is your family?
My family was my mom, my dad, I had two sisters, and a little brother, and we all got separated, and now I live in a foster family that is four of us, counting a little baby and two parents.
Do your parents hold steady jobs? And if so, what are they?
My foster parents hold steady jobs. One is a carpenter who owns his own business. My foster mom is a professor at a CCB. My regular family, my mom was not good at holding a job. My dad definitely did not hold a job. They weren't very supportive money-wise.
Describe the area you grew up in.
The area I grew up in mostly was in Denver, Colorado, and it's not your typical yellow house on the block type place. There's a lot of crime. There was a lot of people who were living in terrible circumstances. Schooling was bad. Teachers didn't really care about the kids as much. Just not a good place to grow up. It was dirty. A lot of crimes.
Describe your household life.
Growing up, my household life was not the best. My mom did drugs a lot. My dad was not around much. And my sisters didn't really know rules, so and they're older than me, I got beat up a lot by them. And you just learn how to fend for yourself. We didn't have a lot of food in my house.
What social class do you think you belong to?
Nowadays I think lower middle class or up like a little bit lower with my foster family. But in the old days I would definitely be under middle class by a long shot. Just struggling to survive day to day.
How do you think, since you said you grew up in that poverty, how do you think it has shaped you to the person you are now?
It's definitely made me, well, I mean, the foster care system helped a lot when I got put in foster care. Obviously I went to a good home. It's definitely made me open up my eyes and know that you have to have a job to survive in this world. You can't just try to live like working at a convenience store. You're not going to make enough money to support a family. Your kids aren't going to have the best education.
Since you grew up in poverty and you witnessed some things that the average middle-class American probably would not witness, do you think it's possible to attain the so-called American dream?
I feel like you get born into a situation and it all depends on the person, the outcome. I mean, you can come from nothing and become something. It's all your mental capacity. It's harder to do if you go to a horrible school and you don't get a good education. But thankfully for me, I liked reading when I was younger, and so I read a lot, and I've learned stuff that I probably would have never learned. So I think, I don't believe in the American dream, but I believe in that you can make your family and yourself a lot better than what you grew up in.
What are some of the rules that you grew up with?
Growing up, I didn't have many rules. I didn't have curfew. Could be outside all I wanted all night if I wanted to. My real parents wanted me to obey them, and that didn't always go over so well. But I grew up with the mindset that people that have more than you, and they're not going to give it to you. They won't share. They're stingy people. Nowadays I recognize that, I mean, they work for their stuff, and not everyone's like that, first of all. So kind of, I grew up steal from the rich and give to the poor type deal, Robin Hood.
Robin Hood, yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's not a good, that leads to crime.
Yeah.
But nowadays I understand a lot more getting put in the situation I've been put in, that I can have the same things as them if I work hard. What is the highest level of schooling that your parents have attained?
Well, my mother got a PhD in archaeology. My father did 12 years of a culinary school in Paris.
How big is your family?
I have 3 siblings, 2 younger brothers and 1 older sister, and my 2 parents, so 6.
Do your parents hold steady jobs, and what are they?
Yes, they do. My mother, like I said, she got a PhD in archaeology, so she's an archaeologist, and she's been doing that since she got her PhD. And then my father is a chef, he's a pastry chef, and he's had steady jobs. He's never been without a job.
Describe the area you grew up in.
Well, I was born in Paris, so I grew up in a very urban area, very multicultural area, and very international as well. So it was very urban, and then though I was born in Paris and lived really most of my life in the big city, every summer I would go to my grandparents' summer home in the French countryside, and that was a little bit more different because it was very rural. It was surrounded with vineyards. That's really where I spent all my summers. So I grew up in both Paris and my grandparents' home in the countryside.
Describe your household life.
My mother traveled a lot, so she went to many different places around the world because she's an archaeologist. I really kind of spent a lot of time with my siblings because they were always around, and we really had a close connection, all of us. But usually my household life was filled with routines, filled with activities that I had to do. Like I was in the choir and all that. Took lessons in waltz dancing. I played soccer, I played rugby, I did swimming, I ran. So, and then later on in life, I was a model. I did some modeling in Paris.
What social class do you think you belong to?
Well, in France it's a bit different because in France there's still a presence of the aristocracy, and I'm part of that. So really, you can't move into that class. Like you have to be born in it. So there's no moving around in that class. If you're born in it, then you're born in it. If you're not, then there's no way you can end up in it. So really, that's kind of considered, I guess, upper class in France, but it's a little bit different because, like my grandfather holds the title of Count and Baron because he's the Count of Courcelles and the Baron of Anjou. Once my grandfather passes, then that title will go to my father and then to me, and so on and so on.
Have you ever been faced with the threat of poverty?
As a child, I don't think I even knew what poverty was because it was just never on my mind. Like I didn't think of it, which is kind of sad if you think about it because there's a lot of people out there who are very unfortunate, and when you think, as a child I used to think that everybody around me that I knew was exactly like me, like they had the same things, and I just thought everyone was like me. And as I got a bit older and started to travel more, especially when I came to America, I saw that not everyone was like me, and so I saw that poverty is an extremely tough situation. It can be very hard to get out of, but I've never faced poverty.
What are some rules that you grew up with?
My parents were very strict. They were always behind me in my grades. I had to get good grades or else. Not really so with my parents, with my grandparents. They expected me to do the best. Like my grandparents, especially my grandfather, expected me to always be at the top of my class. He always expected me to get the best grades of my class. He always expected me to be like the best soccer player, like the best dancer, the best singer in the choir, the best male singer in the choir. So I was raised with a lot of high expectations, especially my sister, since my sister is extremely smart and she performs very well in everything that she does. So I was kind of like, you have to be like your sister. You have to be smart and excel in all the areas that she's performing in extremely well. But for example, I had a curfew. For example, from like age 12 to 15, I couldn't stay out past 11 o'clock at night. I had to wake up early in the morning. I had a long routine every day. I had to follow that routine to go to school, work hard, come home, go do all my activities, dancing, singing, playing the piano, then doing sports, then doing homework, especially at the dinner table. We weren't allowed to watch TV during dinner or like during any type of meals. Everyone usually had to be respectful. They had to know which utensils to use, when to use them. They had to know how to greet a lady if she came in to sit, how to greet people who were older than you, who deserve to have more respect. Like for example, if like an older lady or gentleman came in one day to have dinner with us, I would have to greet them with like hello sir, and like stuff like that. Always be respectful to them. And I always had to ask permission when to leave the table. I could not, especially with my grandparents. My parents weren't as strict as my grandparents. My grandparents, whenever I used to be on summer vacations with them, I had to dress a certain way. My hair had to be combed a certain way. I just so many things. The school that I went to, my grandparents didn't really want me to be around or like be friends with people who were kind of different from me. You get what I'm saying? Like people who were, for example, from like a lower social class, or or just really that. I think that was the main thing. My grandparents didn't want me to be around people who were very different from me. So I had to stick with a certain group of people, and I had to deal with that because I knew if I went against the rules, then there would be like consequences to pay. So I usually always followed what they said and never questioned it. That was one thing too. I wasn't really ever allowed to question things when my parents or my grandparents told me something or told me to do something. I wasn't allowed to question it.
You hang out with lower class people now.
Yes, I do. And my grandparents, I have a feeling wouldn't like that. I haven't told them because I just don't want to even bring it up. But I have a feeling my grandparents, even at my age now, still wouldn't like that very much. But I mean, I'm older now, and I formed my own beliefs and my own ideas and my own things that I believe to be right and true and respectful. So I mean, and I usually don't think that you can judge a person just because they're different from you. So, but yeah, when my grandparents came to visit in the fall last semester, and they kind of saw how the way people dress, like they would judge those people right on the spot. It made me kind of feel uncomfortable, especially when they came into the dining hall. Like that's why like I spent only like 10-15 minutes with them in the dining hall because I just didn't want them to like cause a scene or something. Like, but yeah, now you know, dude, some of my bestest friends are people who are different from me and who are from a different social class than me. So I think that's a good thing because no matter what culture or like how you were raised or like how your family structure was when you were brought up or younger, I think it's important to formulate your own idea of the world and your own beliefs and form your own experiences and then base your life on that, not solely on how you were raised and brought up. I think that's very important. Oh my god. Alright, so I'm gonna count to 3. I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, and then as I'm gonna read the first question, and then you just start off from there, okay? Alright?
Just start laughing.
Alright, hang on, let me get the focus, like. Alright, everything's good. Alright, so okay, ready? Ready? Good. Alright. 1, 2, 3. Oh. What was the highest level of school you've been? Alright, now come on, we gotta be serious now. Come on, let's go.
Alright.
You have to do this. Alright.
This is a hard project.
God, come on, Rami.
We need an A.
Wait, crap. What's her name again? Is it Romy or Rami? What is it?
Romy.
Romy? Okay, Romy Fulton. I'm not putting it. No way. No way. What was the highest level of schooling that your parents have attained?
You use Head and Shoulders.
Oh my god.
I like my hair nice and dude up.
How should I zoom in? Should I go like...
Do I look majestic?
You know, hang on. Get the focus right. About right there. That's good. Alright, no, serious face now. Serious face. Back straight. Sit up straight. Still good. Alright, so now I'm gonna sit there.
Alright.
And then you go here.